The notification lights up your screen with a simple, harmless text. "I'm in the neighborhood, mind if I drop by?" In an instant, your heart rate spikes. A heavy, familiar tightness clamps down on your chest. You type back, of course. "See you soon," but behind that polite digital mask, a silent alarm is screaming in your brain. It is the sound of a sanctuary being breached. Most people call this being antisocial or difficult, but they are wrong. This isn't about disliking your friends or hating your family. It is a sophisticated, deeply rooted psychological defense mechanism triggered by the most sacred space you own. To understand why a simple knock on the door feels like a threat to your very identity, we must first look at the invisible architecture of your mind. For the majority of society, a home is merely a physical structure, a place to eat and sleep. But for a specific group of people, the home serves a much more profound purpose. It is the only theater in their lives where the performance finally ends. Outside these walls, you are constantly on, polite, aware, and navigating the complex expectations of others. You wear a social mask that, while functional, is exhausting to maintain. Your home is the sacred boundary where that mask is permitted to drop, where your breathing deepens, and where the world finally stops demanding a version of you that serves its own needs. It is not just a building. It is your emotional reset button. Within this territory, every sound, every object, and every minute detail of the routine is under your absolute control. When you are alone in your space, you are not lonely. You are whole. You are exactly who you are when no one is watching. And that authenticity is the oxygen your psyche requires to survive the chaos of the external world. Psychologically, this profound attachment to one's environment is defined as territorial comfort. For those who prioritize solitude, their home is not just a collection of rooms, but a precisely tuned ecosystem where they possess total agency. When a guest enters this space, the air itself seems to shift, and the once perfect silence is shattered by a gentle but persistent tension. To the mind of a person who guards their peace, the arrival of a visitor, even one they genuinely love, is like a pebble being dropped into a perfectly still, calm pond. No physical damage is done, but the ripples change the state of the water entirely. The guest brings with them new variables, different energy, and an unavoidable disruption of the established order. It feels like a small, quiet invasion of the only place on Earth where you are not required to negotiate your existence with anyone else. Even the most pleasant conversation cannot mask the fact that the psychological gravity of the room has been altered, forcing your brain to shift from a state of rest to a state of quiet alertness. Here lies the hidden exhaustion that most people never admit. The moment a guest crosses your threshold, even a friend you truly cherish, the mask you so carefully tucked away must be retrieved and fastened back into place. You are once again forced into a state of performance, maintaining eye contact, offering hospitality, and monitoring the social atmosphere. This emotional labor is invisible, but it is profoundly taxing, draining your internal battery quietly in the background like a heavy application running on a smartphone. You are polite, you are warm, and you are attentive. Yet every second of this engagement consumes the very energy you were supposed to be recovering within these walls. This is why some of the kindest and most caring individuals are often the ones who feel the most overwhelming sense of relief the second the door finally clicks shut. It isn't because they were unhappy with the company. It is because the silence that follows is like oxygen to a drowning man. They can finally stop performing, finally stop being on, and finally breathe in the stillness that allows them to remain whole. Psychologists suggest that these intense reactions often stem from a foundation of strong emotional boundaries. These individuals do not push people away out of malice. They simply guard the specific spaces that help them stay whole and functional. To them, the home is never a stage for social validation, but a reflection of who they are when no one is watching. This preference for solitude can also be a deeply ingrained survival strategy developed in childhood. For those raised in environments where guests or visitors represented unpredictability, stress, or a loss of safety, the presence of an outsider today can activate old, dormant tensions in the nervous system. They are adults now, but their brains still associate the sound of a doorbell with an imminent threat to their peace. triggering a defensive response they never consciously asked for. This is why they often prefer meeting friends in neutral territories, cafes, parks, or theaters, where the social contract is clear, and, most importantly, their inner sanctum remains safely untouched. The weight of the world is often carried in our social interactions, but the weight of our own peace is carried in our solitude. There is no psychological flaw in wanting to protect your space, and there is nothing inherently broken about craving the stillness of an empty room. You can love people deeply, care for them with every fiber of your being, and still guard your sanctuary with a fierce, uncompromising necessity. For those who understand this, the truest form of comfort is not found in the noise of a crowd or the validation of a guest, but in the gentle hum of their own thoughts, a familiar chair, and a cup of tea in a room where no one is watching. Because in the end, your home is more than just four walls and a roof. It is the boundary of your soul. And sometimes, the most profound act of self-care is simply letting the door stay closed.